Howdy, it's Jim Murado, and this is February 1st, 2025. We are at Kentucky Down Under. We're about to tour Mammoth Onyx Cave. I've toured it before with a larger group. On this particular day, it was just me and a few friends, and I thought it was a great way to see the cave. Love this cave. This is probably one of the best deals around in cave country. If you want to see a cave but you don't want to go to the national park, check these guys out. You get to see a nice zoo and a cave all together.
Alrighty guys, my name's Bobby. I'll be your guide. Welcome to Mammoth Onyx Cave. A little history about the cave. It was discovered in 1799 by Martha Woodson. She was just 10 years old. She was actually on this hillside one day when she came across a big hole in the ground. That's what we call the natural entrance to the cave. And that's inside this small building. In a few minutes, we're all going to be going right underneath it. In 1921, a local dentist by the name of Dr. Thomas bought the cave, and he's the guy that got it opened up to the public. So we do have a couple of rules. We ask that you guys stay on the pathway at all times. There's 144 steps in the cave. Most of these steps are going to be damp or wet, so take your time. Also, after we get inside, we ask that you guys not touch the formations. When the oils in your skin get on these formations, it stops them from growing. There's going to be a couple of areas we're going to have to touch as we're going through, and I'll point those out as we're going through the cave. Does anyone have any questions? Who's never been in a cave? All right. Did I get you to shut the door for me when you come through, please? Yeah, thank you very much. All right, guys, follow me.
Yeah, I mentioned this is a good value. Real quick before we get the tour started, I love the way the cave goes under here, by the way. You can find old postcards showing that entrance. It's been like that for decades. Very historic cave in its own right. But if you're going to be a Mammoth Cave, one thing I like about this one, you pay your one admission. You get to see all the cool animals here at Kentucky Down and Under. Plus, you get to tour this cave. And it's a great cave. It's a unique cave. To me, it's a bit of a tighter cave. You get to see the formations close up. And they've got those cool dogs running around that are just adorable. And you get to play with the kangaroos, the birds. Just a great place. And this is a great, if I were going to see one other cave or go to one other attraction other than Mammoth Cave, this would be the one I would probably pick. I just like everything they've got going on here. And take note of the original entrance. I think we kind of looked at it a moment ago. He's going to point it out right there. He's going to let us look at that from the top before this tour's over. This tour guide was great, by the way.
For you guys just coming down, the natural entrance is right over your head.
Oh, wow.
No, she didn't jump. That would be a bad fall.
Do you have tours where they come down from that?
That used to be the only way in and out of here. So once again, guys, welcome to Mammoth Onyx Cave. And no, we don't come down that way anymore. I'm sure he would probably let people if they really, really wanted to, but
He needs better insurance.
yeah. Once again, guys, welcome to Mammoth Onyx Cave. Of course, the first thing we're going to talk about is right above your head. And as I said, guys, that used to be the only way in and out of here. It's a nice 29-foot drop from the top to the bottom. And when Dr. Thomas opened the cave up, they used a big ladder to get in and out with. In 1924, they made the entrance that we just came through, and we've used that entrance ever since. And in 1992, they made us a nice exit to the cave. So we're all going to be going out a different way than we came in. Any of you guys want to take a guess at what this is? Moonshine, exactly. So yes, guys, this is an actual still. You're probably wondering, why is it in the cave, right? Actually, it's a good hiding spot for one reason. Another good reason, there's a good source of water in here that was used to make the shine with. This was owned by Bill Skaggs. He was a well-known moonshiner in this area in the early 1900s. And yes, he made a lot of moonshine. Of course, he had one big problem, and that was the cops. So guess what he did? He went and found the perfect hiding spot. He brought his still down inside this cave, and it worked good for a long time, but the cops eventually got him in here too. So when Dr. Thomas opened the cave up, he put it back in here just to show everyone how this cave and many other caves in this area was being used during that time. This cave has also been used as a water source for many local families, so you can drink the water that's in here, and people have even lived in caves. You guys notice the temperature, right? It's right at a nice 58 degrees, and it stays that temperature year-round. It never changes. No matter how hot or cold it gets outside, it's always 58 in this cave. Does anyone have any questions so far?
How does it stay there?
Because the sunlight doesn't reach down here.
So it doesn't get colder.
No, every single cave creates its own climate. It just depends on how deep and how big they are as to how hot or cold they are. They're all different temperatures. Like there's one about 6 miles south of here that stays 33 degrees year round.
No.
Yeah.
And that's because it's smaller or bigger?
No, it's huge.
Bigger, okay.
Yeah, they believe it's actually part of that cave.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Alrighty guys, so we're going to see a lot of formations as we're going through here. The first one I want to point out is this really rough cauliflower looking stuff all over the walls. This is called cave coral. It is the slowest growing formation in here. Guys, it only averages 1/4 of an inch every 500 years. So it grows very slow. We're also going to see stalactites and stalagmites, and even something called cave bacon, which is pretty cool. Are y'all ready?
Mm-hmm.
Follow me.
Bacon. And by the way, just so you know, I'm going to put up a couple of other videos from our visit to Kentucky Down Under, and I've got some other videos up from our visit a few years ago. Again, I'm really fond of what they're doing here. They've got great guides, great staff, and yeah, a little animal show we went to too. But yeah, I'll put some of that stuff up elsewhere for you to check out.
Alrighty guys, so your stalactites. These are good examples of stalactites. They only grow on the ceiling. Inside this cave, our stalactites average about 1 inch growth every 100 years or so. So they grow a whole lot faster than the cave coral. On the floor of the cave, you're going to see what's called a stalagmite, and this is a good example of one of those. Eventually, these two formations will keep growing until they grow together and become one formation. That's called a column. In a few minutes, all of us are going to be going around the largest formation in the cave. It's called Mammoth Onyx Column. By the way, guys, you can take all the pictures you want while you're in here. From this point forward, pay attention to what's above your head. Guys, these formations are hard and sharp on the bottoms, so look out above your head. When you get to the top step where the rail's at, you'll need to bend down when you step up so you don't hit your head on that big guy. Then we're going to go through a little tight squeeze and come to some steps that go downward. There's some rails to your left that you guys can use. Are y'all ready?
Yeah.
Follow me.
Yeah, and I mentioned that this cave is kind of tight. It's not quite Fat Man's Misery. It's not quite a wild caving tour, but you can tell those steps, they're wet and they're kind of skinny. You know, you're not really crawling under anywhere. You know, your knees aren't going to get banged up or anything like that. But as far as a walking cave goes, where you're walking the whole time, I feel like this is a very tight cave. Not quite enough to get to you if you're real claustrophobic. But, yeah, I did this cave before with a group of, I don't know, it was a much larger group last time we did it. I've got that video up elsewhere on this YouTube channel. And it's a cave better suited for very small groups. And again, there were just the 6 or 7 of us on this particular day, which made things kind of nice. And my camera work's not perfect here, but I want to give you the complete tour. So yes, take your nausea medicine. And it is a very up and down cave, but the pace is good, so it doesn't really, my legs were fine after this cave tour. It's not quite Hidden River Cave in Horse Cave, Kentucky. That one burns my legs every time. Anyway, yeah, he's going to talk a little bit here in a moment. We'll see a frog, and he's going to talk a little bit about the water and the wildlife in the cave. And again, it's Mammoth Onyx Cave. If you're going down to Cave Country, if you're going down to Mammoth Cave, there's several tours you can take at Mammoth Cave, from very unstrenuous ones to very strenuous ones. And then there's right now probably 6 or 7 other caves not attached to Mammoth Cave that you can also tour. And like I said, this is one of them, and I like this tour quite a bit. It's a nice cave, and you also get the whole Kentucky Down Under experience, and you can rent a golf cart and drive around in a golf cart, which I think is pretty darn cool.
Alrighty guys, if I could get your attention over this way for a few more minutes, we're going to go over this big room we're all in. This is Woodson Hall. It is the largest room in the cave. It also holds the largest and the oldest formation inside the cave. All of us just came around it, and that's this big guy back here. So that's Mammoth Onyx Column. The cave is named after that formation. So Mammoth Column is roughly 47 feet tall, and it's right at 300,000 years old. It's not going to get any taller, but it will get a whole lot bigger. Eventually, it's going to fill in this entire area. Right where you guys are standing, you're 129 feet below the surface. We're not going to go any deeper, but the cave does go deeper. And that area begins right here. Now guys, as you can see, this part of the cave has been closed off to the public, and the reason why, it drops down about another good 65 feet or so below us. Then it opens up into another room, kind of like this one, and then it shoots back this way about another 1/8 of a mile. The reason why this part of the cave has been closed off to the public, beyond that point, it's all water. So that's why we close that off, because it is dangerous beyond that point. And if any of you guys are wondering about these steps or the pathway, when Dr. Thomas bought the cave, he hired a group of guys, and their job was to make a pathway through here. You have to remember, this was back in the early 1900s. Back then, they didn't have the kind of tools that we have now. So when those poor guys got all the mud and dirt out of here, they carved over half of these steps out by hand. And it took them roughly 3 years to complete, by the way. And if anyone's wondering about the steps on this side, back in the old days, before we had an exit to the cave, that's the way everybody used to go back outside. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Is this always a wet cave, or it's just because of the rain?
Yes, ma'am, that's what she just asked. This is a very, very active cave. Of course, this room is the most active part of it. But yeah, it's always wet like this. But when it rains, it gets a whole lot wetter, of course. And a lot of people ask, she asked if it ever actually floods before we close it down. I've only closed it down 3 times in 21 years, so not very often.
When it would flood, does that damage any of the parts of the cave, or is it?
No, it just makes it very dangerous. And the reason why we close it down is not because they're going to get wet. It's because walking over these steps, the water's just pouring over them. Yeah. So it's very dangerous. But all the water eventually, it goes on down deeper and ends up into the water table.
Have cave divers gone and explored all that, I'm assuming?
No, because to get to where I was talking about, you have to slide down on your stomach, and it's like maybe this wide, so it's very tight. And it's every bit of 65 feet down to it. So kind of dangerous. A lot of fun though.
I'm good.
So guys, if you want to see what cave bacon looks like, right here on the wall, that's a good example of it. You can see while they call it that, it does kind of look like a piece of bacon. These formations get real thin. Some of them get as thin as a piece of paper, and they're breakable like a piece of glass. So that's a good example of cave bacon, by the way. Alrighty, if I can get in front of you guys and have every one of y'all gather around the water up here, I'll tell you a little bit about it.
Steps, and I can take a picture of the back.
Where's the bullfrog? I didn't. You guys are wondering if we have animals in here?
Oh, there he is. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Alrighty, guys. This is Martha's Pool, by the way. It is a real body of water. It's not man-made. It's always been here. Back in the old days, this is where a lot of local families got their water from. This is also where Bill Skaggs got his water to make his moonshine with. So as I said earlier, you can drink this. Guys, the only difference in this water and the water that you drink, this water has a mineral in it called magnesium. What that means, if you drink 2 or 3 cups of this, and you're not used to it, you're going to find yourself looking for the toilet really fast. It's just like drinking a natural laxative. It's going to clean you out. With that being said, before we get out of here, I'll let you guys get you a taste of it if you want to try it. It's actually really good water. Some of the cleanest on earth, by the way. You're also going to notice a lot of writings on the walls. They go all the way down this side, and there's even more writings over here on this side. Back in the old days, cave guides gave their customers permission to do this kind of stuff. They would even let them break off pieces of formation to take home with them as souvenirs. Anybody want to guess why we don't allow that anymore? Number one reason, guys, it destroys your caves. So in 1988, there was a law passed that makes doing that kind of stuff illegal, and that covers every cave in the United States. The reason they made that law was to protect our caves and the animals that live inside the caves. Speaking of animals, we do have frogs, by the way. Also in the water, we do see blind crayfish from time to time. These little guys come from below us. If you've ever seen a crawdad, they look just like crawdads, except they're solid white and they don't have any eyes. We get bats in here sometimes. We have salamander, cave crickets, cave beetles, mice, and I've even seen a snake or 2 in here before. So we do get a lot of little animals in here from time to time. Does anyone have any questions?
The greenery that I saw back there, is that just caused by the adding the light, man-made light?
That's exactly what it is, and that is algae growing, and that's because of the lights. So all of this teal, greenish looking stuff, that's all algae, and that's because of the light shining on it. And also where the lights are shining down on here, you guys can see that there's more algae growing. It's not harming the cave though, at all. Anyone else have any questions? Alrighty guys, follow me.
Yeah, some interesting information there about people visiting caves and bringing in contamination and the lights and all that. Very, very fascinating. Saw that big bullfrog. That was pretty cool. Lots of good information here. I'm trying to film. I know we're kind of moving around, but I'm trying to film and give you a sense of how big the cave is. Trying to get some people in the shots here and there when I can. And also, and I apologize, I think it was the moisture in the cave. For some reason, my camera was wanting to zoom in. I don't know if you caught that a little bit earlier or not. I kind of caught it, though. I don't think it really runs the video. But you did see kind of me zooming in a couple of times unnecessarily. But we caught it. And here's some water for us to drink. If we want to drink some water, check this out.
Alrighty guys, we are getting close to the end of the cave. If you want to see what this water tastes like, at the bottom of this stalactite, there's water dripping off of it. You can get some that way. Or there's a puddle of water down here. You can dip your hand in it and get a drink that way. When you get outside, if you turn right, it'll take you right back to the gift shop where we just started. If you go left, you'll go through a nature trail and come out at the back of the park where all the animals and the cafe's at. Have y'all had fun?
Yeah.
Y'all been an awesome group. Thank you.
Thank you. What do you say about the other? Like you never hit?
So, yeah, it's laxative, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Let's maybe get a selfie before we get out of here too. Maybe at the end.
No, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. You're gonna do it, Wood?
Oh.
Hold on.
Tasty.
Got food now?
Yeah.
Mud.
Is it like mud? That's very earthy. needs to be the.
What? Yeah. That's fine, yeah.
Yeah, what'd you think? I enjoyed that quite a bit. I thought it was interesting that they encouraged us to drink the water. So we did. Had a little taste of it. It was actually pretty good. Very nice water. And we asked our guide to take a picture of us. And so, yeah, that was pretty much the cave tour. He's actually, as we were leaving, he was like, hey, you want to go see the original entrance? And of course, our answer was yes, so we got to check that out.
You got your stick? You love your stick?
It's like a whale.
Oh, wow.
Can I jump down that?
You would not jump down there. It's a long ways down.
No. Yeah.
I'm not gonna go any further.
You would never do anything.
Could you imagine going down that way on a ladder?
No.
No. Would they have?
Well, in 1920s or whenever it was open,
Yeah.
you had a harder way of life. A ladder was like,
That's why they did that, because they had a lot of customers, because women would turn it down. They know they was not gonna go down a ladder in the early 20s, you know?
Yeah.
yeah.
So they ended up blasting that one out.
Yeah.
The entrance, yeah.
It's so crazy that.
Yeah, what'd you think? That was really cool. As we were walking back, our guide kind of caught up with us, and he asked us if we would like to see that original entrance in that house there.
What's the dog?
I don't recall being shown that on our first visit, so that was an additional treat. And I'll give you a quick look. There were 5 of us on a golf cart, and as usual, I got the kind of back seat trunk area ride, so I was riding on the back. And we got one last look at that original entrance. Then there's the newer entrance, which I think is just so cool. They've got these great dogs roaming around. By the way, you can probably hear my dog in the background. I'm playing with a toy with them. They're little dogs. They like to play stick and fetch. Here's their kind of a little visitor center gift shop. Make sure you stop there. They've got some pretty cool gifts. But yeah, so we're driving away from the cave. What'd you think of Mammoth Onyx Cave? Let me know if you've been there. And yeah, we had a great time.